Take a look at this. 3 pounds of intricate electrified tissue, the most complex object in the known universe. It's the command center for everything you are, everything you feel, everything you do. And for all its complexity, its most fundamental operating principle is surprisingly simple. Your brain was built for connection. That's not poetry. It's not a sentimental platitude. It's biology. It's the stark, unchangeable reality of our species, a blueprint for survival written into our very DNA. Think of it as the factory setting for every human being born on this planet. We are hardwired to seek out, create, and maintain social bonds. This isn't a preference. It's a prerequisite for a healthy, functioning mind. This imperative is etched by millennia of evolution into your neural architecture. For over 99% of human history, our existence depended on the tribe. To be cast out, to be alone, was a death sentence. The lone hunter was vulnerable prey. The isolated forager starved. Survival was a team sport. Those who were better at cooperating, at reading social cues, at forming alliances, they were the ones who passed on their genes. Their brains, finely tuned for social integration, became our brains. We are, at our core, social creatures. This ancient programming hasn't faded with the advent of cities or smartphones. It hums beneath the surface of our modern lives, a constant quiet drumbeat, reminding us that we belong together. It's why a shared laugh can feel so nourishing, why a comforting hand on the shoulder can calm our deepest fears, and why the simple act of being seen and understood by another person feels like coming home. This is the ecosystem your brain is designed to flourish in. So what happens when we disrupt that ecosystem? What happens when we cut off meaningful contact? Your brain notices. It doesn't just notice in a passive, abstract way. It registers the absence of connection as a threat. A critical resource, as vital as food or water, has suddenly become scarce. The silence isn't just silence, it's a warning signal. The empty room isn't just an empty room, it's a barren landscape devoid of the one thing your brain needs to feel safe. And it notices with alarming speed. The change is not gradual, it's immediate. Within hours of being isolated, your brain begins to shift its priorities. The executive functions, the parts responsible for rational thought, planning, and impulse control, start to take a back seat. A more ancient, primal system takes the wheel, the threat detection system. Your brain enters a state of high alert, a low-grade but persistent hypervigilance. It starts scanning the environment for social threats, even when none exist. A neutral expression is interpreted as a glare. A delayed text message feels like a rejection. Distress signals start firing. At first, they're easy to dismiss as a bad day or a stressful week. A persistent, low-level anxiety you can't quite name. A feeling of being on edge, irritable. You might find it harder to focus. Your sleep might become fragmented and unsatisfying. You might feel a strange, gnawing emptiness, a sense of being disconnected not just from others, but from yourself. These aren't just feelings, they are physiological alarms, but they're early tremors of a larger problem. These initial signals are your brain's equivalent of a check engine light. It's a diagnostic warning that a core system is failing. Ignoring it is like continuing to drive with no oil in the engine. The initial friction gives way to grinding, and eventually to a total breakdown. This isn't a sign of weakness or a character flaw, it's a predictable biological cascade. A fundamental need is going unmet, and the consequences are not just in your head. Neuroscientists can now see the effects of loneliness on the brain. They see diminished activity in regions associated with empathy and trust. They see the amygdala, the brain's fear center, become overactive and hypersensitive. They see chronic inflammation, elevated stress hormones like cortisol, and a weakened immune response. Loneliness doesn't just make you feel bad. It physically alters your brain and body, leaving you more vulnerable to a host of illnesses, both mental and physical. It's a public health crisis hiding in plain sight. In fact, some studies suggest its impact on mortality is equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. This is why that craving for connection isn't weakness. It's survival. It's a biological imperative as powerful as hunger or thirst. When you feel lonely, your brain is not failing you. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do, signaling a critical deficit that needs to be addressed. It's a primal scream for belonging. To pathologize this feeling, to feel ashamed of it, is to misunderstand our own nature. It's like feeling ashamed of being hungry. The ache of loneliness is a healthy response to an unhealthy situation. It is a call to action. Our ancestors thrived in groups, not in solitude. Your brain still runs that ancient code. It remembers the safety of the tribe, the strength of the collective. In our modern world of digital walls and sprawling cities, it's easy to forget this. It's easy to become an island, but your biology never forgets. It knows that to be truly human is to be connected, and it will send ever louder signals until that fundamental need is met. The question is, are we listening? It begins quietly, not with a bang, but with a slow, creeping silence. The moment human contact ceases, a clock starts ticking inside your brain. Within just the first few hours of isolation, your mind, a product of millennia of social evolution, sounds a silent, powerful alarm. You might be working from home, enjoying a quiet day off, or simply finding yourself unexpectedly alone. Consciously, you may not feel anything is wrong. You might even welcome the peace. But deep within the ancient architecture of your nervous system, a profound shift is already underway. This isn't a feeling, it's a biological event. Your brain, hardwired for connection, interprets this sudden social void not as tranquility, but as a potential danger. It's a primal, deeply ingrained response. For our ancestors, being separated from the tribe was a life-threatening emergency. It meant exposure to predators, a lack of shared resources, and a drastic reduction in survival odds. Your 21st century brain doesn't know you're safe in your living room. It only knows the tribe is gone. And so it begins to prepare for a threat that, in our modern world, is invisible and intangible, but to your biology, feels utterly real. The initial changes are subtle, almost imperceptible, occurring beneath the surface of your awareness. Let's walk through this process, hour by hour. In the first 1 to 2 hours of solitude, your brain's executive functions are still operating normally. You can focus, you can plan, you can create. But a switch has been flipped in the amygdala, your brain's threat detection center. It begins to signal to the hypothalamus, the command center for your body's stress response. It's a quiet conversation for now, a low murmur of caution. You might not register that you're lonely. In fact, you probably don't feel lonely at all yet. But your biology has already taken notice. It has logged the absence of social cues. No friendly voices, no shared glances, no subtle feedback from another human presence. Your internal surveillance system has begun its watch. By hours 3 to 5, the first tangible system to shift is your stress response. This is the domain of the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, or HPA axis. Think of it as the body's chain of command for managing threats. The hypothalamus sends a signal to the pituitary gland, which in turn tells the adrenal glands, situated atop your kidneys, to release stress hormones. The most famous of these is cortisol. Even a few hours of disconnection can be enough to nudge cortisol production upward. It's not a dramatic spike, not yet. It's a gentle, persistent rise. This isn't a malfunction. It's your body's attempt to make you more alert and ready for action. The cortisol mobilizes glucose, providing your muscles and brain with a ready source of energy. It's preparing you to either fight or flee a danger that your conscious mind doesn't even perceive. As cortisol levels creep up, your state of vigilance ramps up. This is your brain entering a state of hyper-awareness, scanning the environment for social signals, or the lack thereof. Your senses might feel sharper. A floorboard creaking upstairs, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of a siren, these noises, usually filtered out, may now register with more significance. Your heart rate ticks higher, a phenomenon you can sometimes feel as a faint flutter in your chest or a stronger pulse in your wrist. Your blood pressure may also begin to rise. This is your cardiovascular system responding to the call to arms, preparing to pump oxygenated blood more efficiently to your limbs in case you need to move, fast. This ancient warning system, honed over eons, treats social absence with the same gravity as a predator lurking in the shadows. It doesn't differentiate. To your nervous system, alone equals unsafe. As day turns to night, around hours 8 to 12, sleep often becomes the first major casualty. The state of hypervigilance that your brain entered hours ago is fundamentally incompatible with the deep, restorative rest your body needs. The elevated cortisol and adrenaline coursing through your system act like internal caffeine, keeping your mind on high alert. You might find it harder to fall asleep, your mind racing with disjointed thoughts. Or, you might fall asleep, only to wake up frequently throughout the night. This is known as fragmented sleep. Your brain, still scanning for threats, resists surrendering to the vulnerability of deep sleep. The result is a night of light, unsatisfying rest that fails to perform its critical functions: memory consolidation, emotional regulation, and cellular repair. You wake up feeling not refreshed, but as if you've run a marathon in your sleep. The next morning, after a night of poor sleep and with your stress system still activated, the cognitive consequences begin to mount. Your focus dips. The part of your brain responsible for concentration and complex thought, the prefrontal cortex, is particularly sensitive to the effects of stress and sleep deprivation. Simple tasks that you'd normally complete on autopilot suddenly feel heavy and demanding. Answering an email, planning your day, or even deciding what to eat for breakfast can feel like monumental efforts. Your brain is experiencing a resource allocation problem. Its finite energy is being diverted away from higher-order thinking and towards the more primitive, survival-oriented task of threat scanning. You find yourself rereading the same sentence over and over. Your mind drifts, pulled away by a constant, low-level hum of anxiety. You might get frustrated with yourself, wondering why you can't just concentrate. But it's not a personal failing. It's your brain in alert mode. This cognitive drain intensifies as you approach the 24-hour mark of isolation. Problem-solving abilities, a key function of the prefrontal cortex, become significantly impaired. Because your brain's resources are being pulled to threat scanning, there's less capacity available for creative thinking, logical reasoning, and finding solutions. You're stuck in a reactive loop, not a proactive problem-solving state. This is why, when you're lonely, you might find it harder to think of ways to alleviate that loneliness. The very state of being isolated impairs the cognitive tools you need to escape it. It's a cruel paradox. Your brain is so busy looking for the tribe that it can't effectively plan the route back to it. Finally, your mood takes a noticeable dip. The neurochemical landscape of your brain begins to change. The production and reception of feel-good chemicals like serotonin and dopamine can be down-regulated. These are the neurotransmitters responsible for feelings of pleasure, motivation, and well-being. Without the positive feedback of social interaction, the brain's reward circuits are less active. This can lead to a state called anhedonia, a reduced ability to experience pleasure from things you normally enjoy. A favorite song sounds flat. A delicious meal tastes bland. At the same time, irritability spikes. With your nervous system on edge and your emotional regulation resources depleted, your tolerance for minor frustrations plummets. A misplaced set of keys or a slow internet connection can trigger a disproportionate wave of anger. It's crucial to understand that these shifts, the low mood, the lack of motivation, the short temper, are not character flaws. They are the predictable symptoms of a taxed biological system, a brain crying out for the connection it was built to have. This is your body's final, most insistent alarm, telling you that something fundamental is missing. Sam, a designer, loved the quiet, control, focus, productivity, months of solitary work. Life shrank, meetups dwindled, calls became one-word texts, sleep fractured, mornings heavy, fog, forgetfulness, thin patience, irritability over nothing. He blamed himself. He was wrong. His brain wasn't weak, it was deprived. These were signals of unmet need, predictable biology from prolonged isolation, your brain asking for community. Days become weeks. Subtle becomes serious. Persistent sadness, sometimes mild depression. Anhedonia. Pleasure circuits dysregulate. Reward and drive weaken without positive contact. Light, fragmented sleep replaces deep stages. Deep sleep powers memory and repair. You get less of it. Anxiety takes root. Social rust forms. Hypervigilance to rejection fuels retreat. Chronic loneliness elevates cortisol and inflammation. Higher risks for heart disease and hypertension. Emotional pain becomes physical harm. Connection is essential. Loneliness isn't just a feeling. Neuroscience shows social pain shares circuitry with physical pain. Rejection and exclusion activate distress centers. The dorsal anterior cingulate fires for physical pain and for social pain. This is not a metaphor. Your brain treats social hurt like injury. Know this, and you gain self-compassion. Painkillers can numb social pain. Fascinating and a warning. Don't numb the message. Answer it. Reconnect. The pain points you back to safety in others. Connection is the sustainable cure. Social life, sleep, hormones, one loop. Less touch and eye contact, less oxytocin. With less oxytocin, cortisol hits harder. Stress blocks deep sleep. Onset insomnia. Early wake-ups. Poor sleep weakens emotional regulation. You get irritable, less patient, more negative. Social functioning drops. Isolation deepens. The loop tightens. Good news, any positive contact can reverse it. Lower cortisol, better sleep, stronger prefrontal control. One small step tips the dominoes back. Feeling isolated? Big parties can feel impossible. Start micro. Your brain counts every small win. Quality, not depth or duration. Look, smile, ask, how's your day? Tiny bursts of oxytocin and dopamine. Stress eases. Small deposits add up to resilience. A brief call can brighten hours. Being seen and acknowledged matters. Micro-connections are the first rungs out. Break the non-interaction pattern today. Never underestimate a small positive moment. If you recognize the signs of loneliness in your own life, the quiet rooms, the endless scrolling, the feeling of being on the outside looking in, know this: you are not powerless. The path back to connection isn't a giant, impossible leap. It's a series of small, deliberate steps, taken one day at a time. This isn't about a sudden dramatic transformation. It's about understanding the science of your own brain and using it to your advantage. Our brains are wired for connection, but they are also highly sensitive to patterns. When the pattern has been isolation, the inertia can feel immense. The key is to introduce a new pattern, so gentle and so small that it barely registers as a challenge. We're going to build a ladder out of this, and it starts with a single manageable rung. Clear, simple steps work because they don't trigger the brain's threat response. Instead of overwhelming the system, they create tiny victories. Each victory releases a small burst of dopamine, the neurotransmitter of reward and motivation. This is how you build momentum from a standstill. You're not just taking action, you're retraining your brain to expect and seek out positive social engagement. So let's begin. Here is a 7-day action plan designed to gently re-establish your social rhythms and rebuild your connections from the ground up. Day 1 is about a single act of initiation. Your only goal today is to break the inertia. You're going to reach out to one person, once. That's it. This isn't about having a deep conversation. It's about sending a signal into the world. It could be a text message to a friend you haven't spoken to in a while, simply saying, "Hey, I was just thinking about you. Hope you're doing well." Or you could share a link to an article or a funny video with a simple note, "This made me think of you." The act of pressing send is a powerful declaration. It is you, actively choosing to cross the space that has grown between you and others. It's the first, most crucial step. Day 2 is about the micro-interaction. Today, your task is to have one brief, positive, face-to-face exchange with a stranger. This is about practicing your social muscle in a low-stakes environment. When you buy your coffee, make eye contact with the barista and say, "Thank you, have a great day." When you're at the grocery store, ask the clerk how their day is going and actually listen to the answer. These moments may seem trivial, but they are fundamental. They send a signal to your nervous system that the world is a generally safe and friendly place. It's a way of recalibrating your social radar, reminding your brain that positive human contact is readily available, all around you. On day 3, we build on day 1's outreach. Today, you will propose a low-effort activity. The key here is to make it incredibly easy for the other person to say yes. Don't suggest a 3-hour dinner on a weeknight. Instead, Text the person you reached out to on day 1 and say something like, "Would you be up for a quick 20-minute walk and catch up sometime this week?" Or, "I'm grabbing a coffee tomorrow morning around 10. Any chance you're free to join?" Keeping it brief and specific removes the pressure. It's not a huge commitment, it's a small, manageable slice of connection. The goal is simply to open the door for a shared experience. Day 4 is about shared movement. If your proposal from day 3 was accepted, today might be the day you do it. If not, reach out to someone else with a similar, simple plan. Why movement? Because walking side by side is less intense than sitting face to face, which can feel like an interview. The shared environment gives you things to talk about, and the physical activity itself is a powerful antidote to stress. Light exercise like walking helps your body metabolize cortisol, the primary stress hormone that runs rampant when you're lonely. You're simultaneously lowering your stress and building a social bond. This is a biological and psychological win-win. Day 5 is about protecting your foundation, your sleep. Loneliness disrupts our circadian rhythms, and poor sleep makes us more irritable and socially withdrawn, creating a vicious cycle. Tonight, your task is to create a protective buffer around your sleep. An hour before bed, put your phone away. Don't just put it down, put it in another room. This eliminates the temptation for late-night doom scrolling, which floods your brain with anxiety and blue light, disrupting melatonin production. Instead, use that hour to decompress. Read a physical book, listen to calm music, do some gentle stretching. Use technology to facilitate real connection during the day, but reclaim your evenings for rest and recovery. Your brain cannot heal and build new pathways if it's exhausted. Day 6 is about creating consistency. Your brain doesn't heal with a single grand gesture. It heals with rhythm and predictability. Today, your task is to schedule one recurring social event. It doesn't have to be a huge commitment. It could be a weekly phone call with a family member, a standing coffee date every other Friday with a friend, joining a book club that meets once a month. The specific activity matters less than its consistency. Placing this event on your calendar creates a social anchor point. It's a promise to your future self that connection is a priority. This predictability soothes the anxious brain, creating a sense of stability and something to look forward to, which is a powerful force against the hopelessness that isolation can breed. Finally, day 7 is about curation. As you begin to reconnect, you'll notice that some interactions leave you feeling energized and uplifted, while others may leave you feeling drained. This is valuable data. Your task today is to reflect on the interactions of the past week and identify one person or one activity that genuinely felt good. Who made you laugh? What conversation left you feeling hopeful? Make a conscious decision to invest more of your energy there. Curate your social life like you would curate a playlist or a library. Focus on the people and activities that are energizing, not depleting. This isn't about cutting people off, but about intentionally nurturing the connections that nurture you back. It's about quality, not quantity. This 7-day plan is not a magic cure, but it is a start. It's a blueprint for rewiring your habits and reminding your brain what it feels like to be connected. Your brain wants this. It is designed to thrive in a community, and it will reward you with dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin for every step you take in that direction. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and you now have a map for the first 7. You have the power to change your own brain chemistry, to rebuild your social world, and to find your way back to yourself. If this approach resonates with you, if you're ready to learn more about the psychology that can genuinely change how you see yourself and the world, subscribe to our channel. Let's continue this journey and grow together.